Hello, my name's Neil and welcome to my channel. Existing subscribers, thank you for coming back. If you're a new viewer, welcome. Hope you take the time to look at some of my earlier vlogs about my life story and things I do in my van, my camper van. When I last left you was in 2016 after I'd done my epic walk along Adrian's Wall. As I said in my last vlog, hiking and carrying all the tents and all the equipment wasn't for me. So I'm not going to be doing that again. One of the other things I realised on that journey was that the tent I had and the equipment wasn't really luxurious enough for me anymore. The days of being in a little two-man tent on your knees or sit on your bum, cooking in a little area, porch area, trying to get dressed when you're kneeling up, sleeping on a little thin blow-up mattress and snuggled up in a mummy sleeping bag was no longer going to be good enough for me. However, I still want to go camping, so I wanted to look for a two-man tent where I could stand up. Now this it took me quite a while to find one. There's plenty of two-man tents, but they weren't really, you couldn't stand up in them. And then when you want one which you can stand up in, it was going to be a four-man tent or a five-man tent. So eventually I found one, and that was a Gillette, and it was called Cabana 2. If I find a photo of it, I'll stick it on the video. It's a bit like an Arabian Nights type tent with a little bedroom in the back and a big porch area, front area. I also decided to get a proper blow-up mattress, so I got a three-quarter size blow-up mattress, and I decided to change my sleeping bag to one which had a bit more room. So I got a Four Seasons sleeping bag, but I could actually move in it. So now, once I've got this tent and I've got my car, I need to go do a test run. So I went out and drove to the Lake District. Now most people go to Windermere, there's plenty of campsites around there, it's quite busy, but I decided to go to Ullswater instead, and I found a campsite just outside Ullswater and tried out my new tent, my new bed. I got a table and a chair. It was so much more comfortable. It was really comfortable compared to in my little one-man tent which I'd use on the bike on the walk. So I was sorted, really. You know, the next step up in luxury. While I was in Ullswater, I did the walk around the water itself. Some beautiful trails around there. Ullswater itself's nice as well. Quite a few little pubs, restaurants, cafes. So that was my first holiday in the tent. This was in 2017. Now before I carry on, if you watch until the end, I've got some questions for you. So yeah, so we get into 2017. My next trip out, I went down to the New Forest. That's a beautiful place as well. Again, drove down in the car, set up the tent, decided to stay for about 4 or 5 days. Walking through the New Forest, you bump into horses, sheep, cows, everything, free roaming. Beautiful area. And one day I decided to go and see, there's a car museum down there. And I thought, okay, I'll walk from the campsite. Going there was fantastic. I followed some paths and everything. Great museum. Coming back, however, I didn't realise how far I had walked. It was about 20 miles away from the campsite. So I was really struggling on the way back. Kept sticking my hand out to try and get a lift. Unfortunately, nobody stopped. I didn't get back to the campsite until about 8 o'clock at night. And I didn't have proper walking boots on. So, yeah, that was a mistake. So 2017 was sort of use the new tent, try it out, go to different places. I went into the Peak District, I went to the Yorkshire Dales. Lovely areas again. Always on campsites. Not much chance of wild camping in England, unfortunately. Especially with my new tent, which was orange. So it was stuck out like a sore thumb. Anyway, apart from working and having my holidays in 2017, that was basically it. I didn't really do much. Apart from rediscovering the love of going to the gym and swimming. So I was quite a regular. I was lucky, I found a gym which had a swimming pool as well. So I could go and do a workout and then go for a swim afterwards. It was during this swimming periods I started thinking about when I was scuba diving. I've always liked water, always been swimming, and I've always been fascinated by underwater, which is why I became a scuba diver. But there was one thing I wanted to do when I was scuba diving. We used to get taken out in boats to dive sites, and then you just drop off the side and do your dive and then come back and get on the boat. I always fancied driving the boat. 2018 comes around and I found a place just outside Portsmouth which run courses for boat driving. So in March of 2018, off our tops down to Portsmouth. So I'd signed up for this course. It was a 5-day course to learn how to drive a speedboat. It's actually a semi-rigid inflatable. A couple of days we were in the classroom going through all the ins and outs, and then they got to go out on the water and learn to drive the boat. It was a strange experience because whenever you see it on TV or on the films, they put the throttle forward and they shoot off. That's not the reality though, because if you did that, the boat would tip up. As it kept hitting the waves, it kept going like that and it would flip up. So you're actually throttling and back, forward and back to keep it going. So that was the first thing I learned. And we also had to learn how to deal with the man overboard. And all the ins and outs of boat maintenance, navigation, radio communication. And by the end of the week, I passed. And I got a boat license to drive speedboats. So that was another thing ticked off what I wanted to do. So now I've been under the water and now I'm on the water. Unfortunately, I don't have a boat. I didn't have a boat then either. And since I did the course, I've never been in a position where I could drive a boat. Hey, it was an experience. I mean, I think after this many years, I'd have to redo it. I don't think the license lasted very long. Pilot's license. I think it was called a pilot's license. But yeah, so that was in March 2018. Now I was still thinking about water again. And in the summer, in July, I had 2 weeks off of work. And I went to visit somewhere where I visited on my cycle tour, and that was Newquay. Now, the reason I was going to Newquay is I wanted to learn to surf. Now, when I was a kid, I had a skateboard. And I'll be honest with you, I wasn't very good on it. But I really wanted to learn how to surf. And Newquay has quite a few different surf schools, and you can sign up for day or week call-on courses. They kit you out with a wetsuit and everything else. So that's what I did. And I actually stopped back in the same place where I'd stopped when I was cycling through Newquay, the surf hotel. I don't think he didn't remember me, but it was just as good as I remembered it, and it wasn't that far from the bay. So first day on that course, on the sand, learning how to stand, jump up, stand, learning a bit about the waves, how they works. All the ins and outs. But even so, on the first day, we still got in the water. And that first day, I never managed to stand up. Every time I tried, I kept slipping off. And I realised how different swimming in the sea is from swimming in a swimming pool. You have to have quite a bit of strength. Day 2, more bit on the beach, and then quite a bit more time in the water. The second day, I managed to stand up a couple of times. Not for very long. But I managed it. Day 3, straight into water. Now, these lessons weren't the whole day. They were a couple of hours each day. And on the third day, I actually managed to stand up and surf onto the beach once. As I say, thinking back to my skateboard days, maybe this wasn't going to be for me. The next day, I managed a bit more. So I actually managed to get out, get some waves, stand up, and surf back to the beach 4 or 5 times. And I tell you something, just a couple of hours doing that, It's very tiring, especially given my age. You know, in your 50s. It's a young man's sport, really. But going to the gym and swimming, you know, I was still quite active and fit. I remember my final day, I think I managed to do about 200, 400 metres of an actual surf on just once. Actually, across the actual wave itself. And that was me done for the week, my course. I was there for 2 weeks, and on the second week I hired a board and tried to put into practice what I'd learned in the first week. I think it was an experience, but I wasn't very good at it, and it wasn't something I was going to be doing on a regular basis, I don't think. Quite tiring. While I was there, I was looking at the jet skis. Now that's something I never got to do, and I think I might put that on my bucket list for my 60s. It's just like riding a motorbike as far as I'm aware, so you don't need a lot of health and strength, so hopefully that'll be something I can do. Didn't do much more 2018. A couple more holidays with the tent. Did a bit of cycling. Still regular at the gym, regular swimming. And I was thinking about what next to do. When I went up to the Lake District again, and I thought about doing some real tall hill climbing, hill walking. And I read about this thing called the 3 Peaks Challenge. Different to the one in the Pennines where you've got like the 3 little peaks of Ingleton, Ingleborough, Whernside and Pen Again. This is the big ones. This is Ben Nevis, Snowdon, Skyfall Pike. I thought, hey, I maybe have a go at that. But I understand there's quite a bit of scrambling and maybe a bit of bouldering and rock climbing type thing. Maybe I need to prepare a little bit for this. So 2019, I found a climbing wall in Sheffield. Indoor climbing wall. So off a Tops to Sheffield to see what it's all about. Now I've done a little bit of abseiling and climbing right when I was really young, probably 8 or 9. So this was going to be a new thing again. The climbing on the wall, after a bit of instruction, I was a bit unsure because the person holding the rope was just another person like me. He wasn't one of the instructors. And when it was my turn, I'm holding the rope for somebody else. And I was thinking that's a little bit hairy, that. I'm putting my life in the hands of somebody else who's just as raw as I am. But this is like it's supposed to boost your confidence. So I'm climbing up the wall, somebody's holding the rope. Go as high as you can, they say. go as high as you can. As I'm clambering up this wall. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking, what if that person doesn't control the rope? If I slip? Which put me off a little bit. I wasn't put off so much about the height of the wall. It was the rope held by somebody else. I mean, how these people climb up the hills and the mountains with no ropes when they're free climbing, they must be mental. I wanted the rope. But while I was there, I had to go bouldering. Now this was free climbing, no ropes. But you weren't climbing up a really tall wall. It might be 4 or 5 foot, that's all. And crash mats underneath if you fell off. And I really enjoyed that. And I thought, that will come in handy. If I have to scramble up some bits, this will give me the confidence to do that. But I persevered, and I went back about another 10 times over the next month or so. Got used to the rope, bought some proper climbing shoes, I got my own harness. And it was that bit of get over that first bit. Have confidence in the other people. And on a couple of the walls there, they had, the weight was roped up, is that if you slipped off, it would lower you down automatically. So you could climb on your own without anybody holding the rope. So that helped me overcome a bit of the fear of climbing with the rope. But I still really enjoyed the bouldering part. And I was umming around, about getting my own crash mat and going bouldering out in the wilds. I looked at the prices of things, and I was thinking about it. In the end, I decided not to, because I wasn't sure how often I was going to be doing it. But it was a useful thing to know about. How do you use your arms and how you use your legs and your body when you're actually climbing on something. Unfortunately, didn't get to use it because not much longer after we got into 2020, everything went pandemic, didn't it? And COVID comes along and we're all in lockdown. Excuse me. Yeah, lockdown. I was only actually off work for 3.5 weeks because they were looking for volunteers to come back. And I went back to work, mask on, social distancing, one-way system. So people were still buying things. Things were still being delivered. I mean, the staffing in the warehouse where I work, mostly the managers were back. I mean, obviously they get paid more, but they're the ones who were expected to volunteer because they were managers. Didn't get a great deal of thanks for actually doing it afterwards. Yeah, so couldn't do much, stay at home and all that sort of stuff. I really missed getting out into the wilds. As soon as the opportunity arose, I got on my bike, started cycling out. It was strange. I was trying to find, for a long time, some weights so I could do some training at home. and everybody seemed to be sold out. Everybody's obviously had the same sort of issues. They couldn't go to the gym. Let's get a gym at home, and end up with stretch bands and things like that, which actually were quite good. Enabled me to do a bit of a workout while I was at home. Put on quite a bit of weight during that period as well. Food and drink. Yeah, I was drinking quite heavily during the pandemic, I think. Not really good for you. I think I wasn't the only one. What else could you do? Yeah, so that went on and on. 2021. You know, nearly 2 years of all this pandemic rubbish. I did manage to get out a couple of times once they relaxed the lockdown. I managed to get out and about on the bike. A couple of days away in the tent. In 22, I think it was the beginning of 22, I was sat in a waiting room at the hospital after I'd had some blood tests done, and I picked up this mountain bike magazine. Now, I'd had a mountain bike with all my other bikes, but I'd never really gone mountain biking. And I was reading this magazine, and these newfangled electric mountain bikes were in it. But also what was in it was a list of all these different places, mountain bike centres, where they had shops and you could rent the bikes. Now, as I said, I've never actually done that. So I was thinking, that might be something to do. Now, I found one which wasn't that far away from me, near Nottingham, Sherwood Pines. So, a couple of days off from work, I drive down to there, and you could rent the bikes for an hour, half a day, or all day. Not that cheap to rent. I mean, we're talking like a Trek or something like that, which was, to buy a new one, you were talking like £10,000 then, £8,000. So I rented one, half a day. I thought, an hour's not enough. I'll do half a day. And we had all these different trails there, beginner, right to advanced. So once I got used to the bike with a power assist on it, I'd go around on the junior trail, the family trail, if you like. Hey, I like this. You can get some speed up. You still have to pedal, don't get me wrong. But anytime you hit a bit of a hill, switch on a bit of power and it helps you pull up the hill. Half a day wasn't enough. I kept doing the trails, one after another. And I thought, I'd get used to this. But I couldn't afford to buy one of those bikes. The following weekend I was back again. All day. I spent all day there. It had been raining a few days before. Oh, I was covered in mud at the end of the day. But what a feeling. I got better at it, doing little jumps and stuff. And I was thinking, I've got that magazine. I took it home with me. Let's have a look at this list. I can go to different places. So when my holiday came round, I thought, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to different places. Gisborne Forest. Gisborne Forest, Lancashire. That was my next place. Again, rent the bike. Rent it for a day. Different types of trails there. But what a great day. I was getting better at this. I was thinking I might actually think about getting one of these bikes and doing it. I mean, with my age, still quite fit. Yes, I'm going to do some more. I'll think about buying a bike. I'll think about it. So after that one, I went to Vanlife Pass. That's in the Lake District. And Grisdale, that's in the Lake District. They're not that far from each other. So I spent one day at one place and one day at the other place. And there's some great off-road trails there. And I was sort of like making my way up from the easy ones to the harder ones and onto the red routes. The red routes where you got jumps and boulders and all sorts of stuff. And I think I got a bit little overconfident on myself, and I ended up coming off head over heels, stuck between some boulders. Took quite a little bit of a bash off that. Nothing was broken. I was quite bruised, covered in mud, but I still enjoyed it. But I mean, accidents happen. You can, without doing anything stupid or wild like I do, you can fall over and hurt yourself anytime. I mean, you can put your back out just tying your shoelace when you get older. So my next stop after that was Derby Forest. Now that's a bit up near Scarborough, and they had some brand new bikes in. God knows how much they cost. But I stayed in Pickering while I was there. Bangers and Cash on TV are based in Pickering, so it's only about 15 minutes away from Derby Forest. And that was a good, exciting place. They had some really difficult trails. The red trails and the black trails were, really difficult. Now, when I've been reading about this mountain biking, there's competitions all over England, and what I was told was that one of the birthplace, if you like, of mountain biking was up in Wales. Coed y Bryn, North Wales. So on my next holiday from work, I spent a week up there. I found a hostel not that far away, so I wasn't camping. We're talking August time, yeah, end of August, so the weather had changed a bit. And we have an uplift service there, so you go up in a Land Rover type thing. They take you up the top and you can cycle all the way down, and then you get back in the Land Rover and they take you back to the top again, and you can keep doing that all day long. And that was my final one of that year. I mean, I don't know how stupid I've been doing something which was quite dangerous at that sort of age. But it was an experience. Now this is chapter 5, part 2 of my life story and my weird activities and further adventures. But I'd like to ask you, what weird and wonderful activities and adventures have you undertaken at any age, especially in your 50s? Let me know in the comments. Now I'm going to leave this one here. We'll come back with chapter 5, part 3, which will be my 3 peaks challenge and getting my van. So if you've liked this video, give us a thumbs up. Always willing to listen to any comments. And if you haven't subscribed previously, please subscribe. So I'll say bye for now.